Hey, check out this mega scream on the mega screen. Here's your look at the brand new Mezco Toyz Scream Ghostface MDS Mega Scale figure. Lock the doors, lock the windows, and don't pick up the phone. Ghostface slashes his way into your collection. The mysterious killer known as Ghostface targets his teenage victims by using horror film trivia as part of his deadly game. Time to brush up on your trivia. Your life could depend on it. Ghostface is outfitted in his signature hooded robe and comes complete with hunting knife that fits neatly into his right hand. He stands at a menacing 15 inches tall and features 11 points of articulation. I'd like to consider myself a bit of a horror buff, but I'm sure this slasher would still find a way to stump me. Before, of course, we get a closer look at the Ghostface, the MDS scale Ghostface from Mezco Toyz, let's grab the tape measure and see how tall the figure stands. By the way, as well, I did find this one at Entertainment Earth. If you haven't found any chance, I haven't had any luck to find this guy out in the wild, you can certainly click the link down below in the video description. I think this guy will set you back about $94.99, about $95 when it's all said and done. Ghostface, though, is 14 inches in height, or the figure is going to be about 36 centimeters tall. Far be it for me to start this review on such a negative point, but the thing that really sucks about Ghostface here is not the way he looks, but the fact he's silent. He has no audio clips whatsoever. And I bring this to your attention because when we have looked at MDS figures in the past, not all of them, but some of them have possessed audio. Specifically, some of the Chuckies have had cycled through sound effects and audio clips from the film. I think we also, in fact, looked at a sound bit version of Jason Voorhees in the MDS scale that also had audio clips from the film. Ghostface having one of the most recognizable voices in all of horror films, you would think that they would found a way to build in, especially for a $100 figure almost, build in at least audio. A few only cycle through sound effects, maybe screaming, yelling, of course, and of course that most iconic voice of him saying something like, "Hello, Sydney," or, you know, at the very least, "Do you like scary movies?" Something like that. But unfortunately, the figure doesn't have any of it. While not packing audio, though, Ghostface does still manage to pack his modified Buck 120 knife. Mezco did mold this actually in a very hard plastic, painting only it seems to be the handle and painting the end of it as well. The rest of the blade, I'm guessing, is probably molded in just the silver plastic. But again, it's a very hard plastic. So being careful, of course, when you're putting it into his hand. It only goes to this side of the figure's body. The other hand is actually more of a relaxed hand. Talking about one thing about that other hand, I'll actually mention it more in a moment. But putting this into his hand, just be careful that you're not putting pressure against the blade. It's that kind of plastic that, you know, that kind of plastic. If you're putting pressure against it, it's probably going to cause the fracture line and even crack the plastic. So just be careful when you're putting it into his hand. Like I said, though, it only fits into one of his hands, and that being his right hand. You can either have it, say, upright, for example. I'm just going to snap it in place like that. Or if you prefer, you can also twist the knife around. I'm leaning more, I think, to having the figure displayed like this and having Ghostface actually running with the knife in his hand like this. Because I think that looks definitely something more like Ghostface would actually have. Literally, though, on the other hand, he does have just a relaxed hand. Now, if you're not going to include audio clips, I'm directing this to the folks over at Mezco Toyz. Why wouldn't, at the very least, they could have included like the audio clip box or the little sound effect voice changing box that he has in the films? I mean, that's an ideal hand, and it looks like it's just the right kind of hand to accommodate a rectangular shaped accessory. They couldn't find a way to include that. So what you only get, unfortunately, is just the knife. And I'm sure at the very least, the knife is enough. I'm going to be displaying the figure definitely with the knife. We're going to put that to the side for right now. If you have collected any of the MDS figures, I'm just going to put the figure down here for a second. If you have, say, collected the MDS Chuckies, you already know right away, like this is the kind of build and body that you're going to be getting. They're essentially just reusing the same body again when it comes to Ghostface. In fact, if I move back his cloak, lift the curtain up, so to speak, you basically can see just a basic Chucky body underneath this. Now, they have used this MDS body style before. They've used it for like the Freddy's. They've used it for the Jason Voorhees. I really wish that I had those figures to bring back in for the comparisons, but I have since sold those out. I just had to free up a little bit of space. Funny enough, now I'm going back and looking at an MDS figure, but it's basically the same build and body, other than the fact they just added the little boots down below here that obviously a Jason Voorhees or Chucky wouldn't have had. The actual boots themselves look really good. They're just a little bit more stylized and off-proportioned. The thing about the MDS figures is the fact that they're always going to have really oversized heads, really large hands, and like kind of squatty little bodies. But it works quite well, actually, for Ghostface here. The material that they've used for the cloak, I could probably best describe as kind of like a parachute material. It's kind of got a little more of an elasticity to it. You can see kind of the way I'm stretching the material. It actually fits and falls on his body in a natural way, and it looks really quite good. I think they've done a good job on the actual cloak. Now, the head sculpt is definitely one thing I think they've done a great job for. They've molded it here, I'm guessing, in a white plastic. Although, really, when you're looking at this, I'm guessing maybe they probably would have actually, in fact, molded this in black plastic and then painted the face over top of it, leaving probably just behind the sockets for his eyes, the little droopy eyes that he has, the little kind of upside down triangle nose, and of course the very long sagging mouth. Very nicely painted here. But I'm guessing, again, they probably would have just gone and painted the parts in white and left all the remaining parts back in black. Now, when it comes to actually the hood, the way what they've done for the hood for the cloak is that they've attached it to the top of his head. So there's really no way to have the cloak hood actually falling off the figure's head. There's no way. I mean, basically, it's going to be permanently attached. Those similar sort of twist ties that you saw at the opener of the review that I always like to clip with my clippers, my little nail clippers, that were wrapped around his arms, for example, and wrapped around his legs. It seems to be that kind of same similar kind of tag that they've tagged the top of the cloak hood, so to prevent, of course, the hood from falling off. The thing I really like about the hood is the fact it has a natural drape to it, but they've also devised a way to include a wire frame all around this area here, all around this area here. So not only can you get a really opened area, a hood cloak, but also as well you can bend the wire too. I don't want to bend it too extreme because obviously you want to kind of keep it more to like an oval shape, but you can bend this if you really wanted to and get the desired look that you want. The hood does look good though, and I think again they've done a really nice job. It has the very obvious seam lines there you can see on the top, not as much obviously for the rest of the cloak, and again really nicely done. He doesn't have, for example, if I just bring his arms up here, for example, he doesn't have any tattering on the ends of his sleeves, but he has like those famous kind of triangular drapings that he has on the bottoms of his sleeves. And again, when you have the arms up like this, for example, you really kind of get the chance to have these shine. The bottom of his cloak has the little torn off sections. You can see kind of a little more triangular cut off pieces. So again, it looks the way it would be in the movie. And again, just to bring back in, we're not going to expose his bare legs, but you can kind of see as well the way they've sculpted the boots. Nicely done here in a black plastic. They've even also colored in these side little looplets there for, of course, the laces that loop through. And again, they've sculpted. He seems to, of course, tie off. It looks probably wraps around the tops of his boots a couple of times before he makes two bunny ears on either side. Again, really nice looking boots overall. Again, the only thing about it is not, I don't hate the figure. I really like the way he turned out. I'm just really disappointed the fact that of all the characters that they could have done in MDS with audio, Ghostface seemed right away like a strong contender. Now, for his articulation, he is going to be a little bit more limited because, again, like the MDS bodies aren't really known for figures that have a lot of posability points. Figure, first of all, he does have a ball joint in his head, so I'm glad to see they did find a way to incorporate a ball joint. The head can look up really quite high, and it can look down about that low. You can also as well rock the head back and forth, and really you could twist it all the way around, but you're only going to be able to twist it so far because, of course, the hood is only going to go so far. So a really nice, decent amount of posability for the top of his head. It gets a little bit more limited when it comes to his arms. Like he does have a ball joint or hinge joint in the shoulders, but you can only really bring the arms, as squeaky as they may be, to about that point. So they go in that far, they go that far. That's about it. You can rotate them really all the way around. It's going to make, of course, a lot of squeaking noises in the process. If I just roll up the sleeve, you can also sort of see the way that they've built in the posability. So there's a swivel joint right here in the forearm, and then there's also a swiveling joint right here. It's strange that it's right here in the forearm and not further down where his hand would be, but he still managed to incorporate 2 points of articulation. Technically 3, really, if you count the shoulders. 1, 2, and 3. His upper body doesn't have any articulation. I mean, it's basically just, if I was just to lift back up the cloak here, you basically can see it's just a regular body underneath, but he does have the swiveling points here, and he also can rotate the boots back and forth as well. It's a good looking Ghostface. If you are one that likes that MDS scale, I love the MDS scale. I really, again, wish I still had a lot of my MDS figures. It just kind of came to a point where I was kind of getting overrun with my collection, and I had to really start to reduce the amount of footprint space that I had with like larger scale figures. And unfortunately, let's just fix the cloak here. Unfortunately, though, one of the right-away casualties were the MDS figures. I just had to kind of start to get rid of them. But I decided to go back and start to collect these again. I wanted to get right away the MDS Ghostface. He looks great. He looked a lot better, obviously, online when we saw those promotional images, but I think he still translates in physical hand, like right away. Like when you get this guy out of the packaging, he does have a presence to him. Kind of, again, really being bummed by the fact the figure didn't have any audio clips. I don't mind if it was a case where the figure had started at $94, $95, and by adding the audio clip, it would have pushed the figure beyond $100 to about $150 and $120. Honestly, I probably would have still spent that money more on top of it if it meant at least the figure had an audio clip. By not having it, I feel like you're robbing the figure of the one thing that would have made him even that much cooler. He looks great the way he is right now. He would have looked that much better with at least having a button somewhere on him where he'd be able to cycle through some of the voice clips from the films themselves. Funny, as we're looking at MDS Ghostface and final looks, I just happened to check back at Entertainment Earth, and they had a couple of 15-inch MDS scale Mega Ghostface for not mint condition. Basically, that just means as they probably came off the truck, the boxes were a little bit more dented and worse for wear. They had a couple of those figures for $59.99, and by no surprise, those things sold out right away, marking them down by like $20 to $25, even $30 difference. Yeah, I can certainly understand why people would have bought those up right away. Ghostface, I think, is well worth the price. Speaking of the price, though, I think they definitely needed to add another $15 to $20 on top of the existing price, and at the very least, add audio clips. It doesn't necessarily take anything away from the figure itself, as it is for a stylized version of Ghostface. It's one of the best ones we've gotten, but it does mean, though, unfortunately, he doesn't have an audio clip. And I only, again, really say that because we've gotten audio clip versions of MDS Chuckies in the past. Why couldn't they have done something similar? Now, they probably just would have scaled back the production and producing these figures. By adding audio clips, it just means that they have to add, obviously, a circuit board. They have to add a speaker built into the bodies. It's so much easier for them just to really retool body, boots, hands, and of course a brand new head sculpt. Fabric is always one of the cheapest things that a company can always do when it comes to essentially reusing the same mold again. And that's probably their mindset when it came to releasing Ghostface. We could have done an audio clip. That's me thinking as a Mezco Toys CEO. Yes, we could have very well done an audio clip built into the figure's body, but it was so much easier to produce a figure with the existing bodies as we already have in our inventory right now, and simply just add a brand new head, add brand new gloves, and brand new boots. I understand that. If that's the case, that's fine. At least have included a voice box, because of course he does have an empty hand on the other side. It's a gestured hand, but the hand also could have very well held a voice changing box, and I think that's something that they could have also added with this figure above and beyond just giving him the knife alone. But what do you guys think of the figure? Let me know down below in the comments section. Have you guys collected any of the MDS mega scale figures from Mezco Toys? And if you have, let me know down below in the comments section what those figures were. If you guys are interested also as well to get this one for yourself, the not mint versions have already sold out, but I think the regular mint versions of Ghostface are still available on their site, and by using also that link down below in the video description will save you 10% on anything that's currently in stock on their site. If you guys enjoyed this video, I want to hit with a like. If you guys are loving the content you guys are seeing, and you certainly would like to stick around for more, if you haven't already done so, make sure you hit that subscribe button down below, and you're turning on as well the bell notification. And of course, as always, guys, thanks for watching. See you guys next time.